Hey everybody, it's B here, and we are back for the last Archetype 101 of the week, covering our first black archetype, Mono Black Shroom Salsa. This is one of the decks that I'm actually probably the most excited to play between Janemba and launch because of how it interacts with the game. It's a drop hate deck. It fights decks like green in a really interesting way that I think it's about time that we actually get something that does something like this. So in general, super hyped up about the deck. But before we get started, if you guys want to watch me live on Twitch, I go on every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and on weekends for tournament streams. Links will be in the description down below. But with that said, let's just jump into this very unique and very fun looking archetype. So quickly as an overview, it's a drop hate centric deck. You are comboing away cards to then get rid of battle cards in your opponent's drop area, which is hugely powerful when you consider so many powerful decks utilize their drop. You know, we mostly in green, to be honest, between Roshi, between Ribrianne, so many great options are in there that I think finally having a deck that can utilize and hate on those specific aspects of those decks is absolutely phenomenal. It has a lot of on-board advantage. Essentially, a lot of your pieces on board give you extra benefits for the fact that you're doing things like removing things from your opponent's drop area and then seeing if they have any battle cards left. You're able to draw more cards out of doing stuff like that. So you're getting a lot of advantage based on the pieces that you're getting on board, which oftentimes are cheated into play. The deck utilizes a lot of cheat into play style aggression. You're putting cards in via effects, oftentimes you're paying either nothing or very cheap for them, and that's essentially how you're getting the ball rolling in this deck, very similar to how a lot of different archetypes in this set are doing it. When we look at the leader, we have Shroom Salsa. Auto, when this card attacks, you draw a card, and then another auto that once per turn, if this card is in a battle, when you use a black battle card in a combo, your opponent sends one battle card from their drop area to their warp. If there are no battle cards in your drop area, draw one card. So this auto is a little confusing because it's not entirely certain if sending the card from drop to warp is, you know, part of the skill or part of its own skill, but I think because of the way that the commas are laid out, this is actually its own separate skill. One part of the skill is sending the card from drop to warp. The other part of the skill is checking if your opponent has any battle cards in there and drawing a card. Now, there's a lot of ways to interpret this skill, and I'm not entirely sure on it. I've jumped back and forth between which way it is. So if you guys know, just let me know in the comments down below, because I myself am still trying to figure out exactly what it is. But I think from my third reading of the card, that's what it is. You have the cost of when this card is in battle. That's the only cost. And then you have two separate skills: sending the card from drop to warp, and then checking if there's any battle cards in there. Then he has an awaken when your life is at 4 or less, or your opponent has 4 more cards in their warp, which kind of funny enough, works really well against anything that is an overwhelm deck. You're just gonna be able to awaken right away. You get to draw one card and then switch up to 1 year energy in active mode and flip the card over. Then we have Shroom Salsa, Might of the Demon Gods. Auto, when this card attacks, you draw a card once per turn. Again, the combo. You get to draw a card if there's nothing in your opponent's drop, and then activate main for 1 energy, and if there are no battle cards in your opponent's drop area, you get to choose up to 1 black evil wizard, demon realm race, or demon god with an energy cost of 2 or less from your deck or hand. Play it and then shuffle your deck if you look through it. Very powerful effect, and this is where we're starting to see more cheat effects. You know, for one, you're getting a 2-drop, and your 2-drops often synergize really well, and some of your 2-drops even lead into actually being able to free play even more cards. So very synergistic, especially with all the different cards in the archetype, which is great to have on a leader, because having energy sinks in a leader is very powerful, because it means no matter what point of the game, you will always have at least a line to be able to go into something, especially when we're such counterplay heavy meta. This is something this is a tool in your toolbox to be able to bait out counterplays, bait out plays, and force your opponent to have to make decisions earlier than they want to before you start committing cards from your hand, which is excellent. Then when we look at the demon gods, we have Mechicabra, the King's Summons. 3 costs, activate main for 2 if your lead card is a black demon realm race card and you place this card from your hand and 1 card from your life in your drop area. Send 1 battle card from your opponent's drop area to their warp, then play up to 2 black battle cards with Evil Wizard or Demon Realm Race with an energy cost of 2 and different character names that aren't Mechicabra cards from your deck, then shuffle your deck. You can't activate the activate main skill of this card more than once per turn. Super powerful. It essentially means that now, on top of being able to set up your stuff on turns 1 and 2, you're also able to start establishing your aggression, your board early on with this activate main. And there's a good line. There's Shroom and Salsa, which we're going to be able to get, but there's also a bunch of other demon gods that we're able to look into, and even wizards. So we have Toa, Dimensional Convoker, 4K, auto. When this card is played, look at the top 5 cards from top of your deck, add up to 1 Black Evil Wizard, Demon Realm Race, or Demon God card among them to your hand, shuffle your deck. Activate main for 1 cost once per turn. If your leader is black, play up to 1 skillless demon card with 15k power from your deck, which are 2 drops in this set, or drop area. Then shuffle your deck if you look through it, and then you can activate this activate main more on other copies of the card. So a lot of balancing factor here, making sure that you can't use the cheat too often. Then we have Chain Attack Gravy, 14k. 14k is such a weird stat. Auto once per turn. If your leader card is Black Demon Realm Race card and it's your turn, when you use a Black Evil Wizard, Demon Realm Race, or Demon God card in a combo, you get to draw an additional card, which is awesome. And this is where that on-board advantage that I'm talking about. You know, you have cards that are just sitting on board, and when you start comboing, you're actually accruing card advantage now at this point. Additional auto, when this card is removed from your battle area by an opponent's skill, send 1 battle card from your opponent's drop area to your warp, meaning that you're furthering punishing their game plan if they go off and get rid of Chain Attack. The other Chain Attack is Chain Attack Poutine, and when this card is removed from your battle area by an opponent's skill, you send 1 battle card from their opponent's drop area to the warp, and an activate battle once per turn if your leader card is a Black Demon Realms card. And it's your turn. Up to 1 Black Evil Wizard, Demon Realm Race, or Demon God card in your combo area gets 5k combo for the turn, essentially meaning that once per turn you're making any combo a super combo, which is super powerful. And then when you combo that with Chain Attack Gravy, the both of them together essentially turn your deck into every single turn. Once per turn, I'm going to get a free super combo out of a free combo, which goes really well when you start including the Shroom and Salsa cards that you want to combo. So here we have the 2-drop 15k Shroom, and the associated 5-drop Shroom, a new Demon God, 20k. When this card attacks, send up to 1 battle card from your opponent's drop area to their warp. If there are no battle cards in your opponent's drop area, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle area and send it to its owner's warp, which means you're either killing their drop, and if their drop has nothing and you've done your game plan successfully, you're moving forward and killing their board. Activate main for 1, choose up to 1 black skillless battle card when energy cost of 2 or 3 and return it to its owner's hand. Play this card from your hand. So you play out the vanilla Shroom from your hand or deck using the leader, and then you go into this Shroom for 1. And to be honest, it even goes with the salsa. Whichever one you have, it's very flexible in that you really just need a vanilla. So in that case, you're able to swap in whichever one you want. And of course, we have the salsa of the same variant, a new Demon God, where he has the activate main for 1. You get to pitch away a 2 or 3 cost vanilla to be able to play this. On top of his auto being that when his card attacks, you can send a battle card from your opponent's drop to their warp. If there are none, you get to choose up to 1 Black Evil Wizard, Demon Realm Race, or Demon card with energy cost of 2 or less from your hand or drop area and play it. So now we can go into the Shroom, or we can go into the combo attack stuff if we want to be able to set up board for that. So a lot of the pieces of the deck go into the other pieces of the deck, and definitely lean hard on the whole combo aspect of the archetype. When we look at the closers of the deck, we have Dark Masked King, Devilish Dominator. I don't know who the Dark Masked King is. I'm not a heroes guy, but this is a pretty dope card. A 25k 6-drop with Deflect and Triple Strike. Auto once per turn. When this card attacks, send up to 2 battle cards from your opponent's drop area to the warp. If your opponent has 10 or more cards in their warp, switch this card to active mode, essentially making him a dual attacker in this deck, which is great. And then an additional auto, if your opponent activates a counter skill during a battle with this card, send 1 card in your opponent's life to their warp. Awesome. You can't negate this, because guess what? If you negate this, you're taking a life anyways, which, to be honest, if the choice is between 3 life or 1 life, maybe the 1 life ain't so bad, but don't forget that odds are in this deck he's going to be attacking a second time, so just keep that in mind. He also has an activate main for 4 that if your leader card is black and your opponent has 3 or more cards in their warp, you get to play this from your hand, essentially making him a turn 4 closer in this deck, which is super powerful. It's very in line with what other decks are doing in terms of their closeout turn. Turn 4 is amazing for it, especially when we consider it as Deflect, meaning that it actually has a good matchup against blue, which tends to hate out on big boss monsters like this. Then we also have the TP promo, Dark Masked King, Deluge of Darkness, 25k Deflect Double Striker permanent. This card can be played by skills from any area, so it's preventing any ways of making this card cheaper. It's not going to be able to actually free play using any of the other cards. Fair enough. He has an auto that once per turn, when this card attacks, you may send 1 card from your opponent's life to their warp for every 10 cards in their warp. If you send cards from your opponent's life to warp, send 1 card from your life to your warp. So I think the way that this is worded is that you can send 2, 3, 4 life, and that doesn't matter, you still only take 1. But having a finisher in this sense that basically guarantees 1 to 2 damage late in the game is super powerful, and is actually really punishing to black decks again. I mean, this archetype actually really hates on black decks really hard. One, you're making overwhelm harder for them. Two, when they do get off their overwhelms, you're punishing them by taking away their life. Super sacky, but another great card. Lower cost in terms of hard cost, but it will come out later in the game. But later in the game, this is a great 1 or 2 of to be able to secure those last couple of damages to absolutely close out the game, which is super strong. Then of course we have a Unison, because every archetype gets their own Unison in the game now. Deborah Dimensional Meddler, 10k auto. Once per turn, when you use a black battle card in a combo, add a marker to this card, and it gets 5k power for the turn, which is cool. I think the 5k is talking about the Deborah itself, so that's sweet. It means that he's basically 15k for the turn once that happens, so it's an extra defense. And it's fun seeing them mess with black unisons that have no specified cost, so you can play them on turn 1, but they mess around with skills or the way that the card works to make it more balanced and make sure that we're not stuck with, you know, 5k unisons that just die because, you know, they're played on turn 1. Then a +0 activate main. If your leader card is a Black Demon Realm Race card, send up to 1 battle card from your opponent's drop area to the warp. This directly benefiting just the entire archetype and helping you be able to get to a point where your opponent has nothing left in their drop. And then ultimate for -4 activate main. Play up to 2 Black Evil Wizard, Demon Realm Race, or Demon God cards with different character names and energy costs of 2 from your deck or drop area, and then you shuffle your deck. So a free play, this ability is really strong. We've seen it very similarly on cards like Piccolo Jr. Do I think this is as powerful as Piccolo? No. The cards aren't as impactful as what you can get with 3-cost red cards, but regardless, it's a nice effect and definitely something to keep an eye for if you're trying to look towards really turboing out the removal of cards from your opponent's drop with this Unison. Then on the defensive side, we have Dark King's Flash, a 1-cost counter attack that negates the attack, and then activate main. If your opponent has 5 or more energy, your opponent can't play battle cards using leader skills until the end of their next turn. Very niche, doesn't work with a lot of things, but there's a few leaders that this goes up against, which is sweet. If you consider things like Dark Broly, this prevents him from being able to actually play out a Dark Broly when you get rid of something on their board, which is sweet. It's you know, it's a lot of tech here, and actually it's fun because you can actually tech this in any deck. 5 energy is a little bit costly though. I'm not too sure what leaders get to turn 5 and then want to start free playing stuff off their leader. But hey, in the mirror, this is good because you're preventing your opponent from being able to play stuff off their leader, I guess. But it's just something to keep in mind. It's cool tech. It's not really specific to this deck, but it can be utilized in pretty much any deck, which is sweet. And it's something to keep in mind for if the meta ever gets to a place where we have a leader that specifically does this. Now we have a way to shut it down. And that's Mono Black Shroom Salsa, a deck that's going to attack the meta in a very interesting way and is really going to yield in a lot of frustrations that people have with green. I know recursion of dormant potential is something that people are really frustrated about, and this kind of deck is one of those checks and balances I think Bandai is testing with to not create silver bullets that kill decks, but create archetypes or ways for the game to play around it. And I think this way of trying to combat what people are frustrated with the meta is a much better way to go about than silver bullets. And I really hope that design space wise, they keep on exploring this, because I think this is a phenomenal way to be able to attack and try and hone in the metagame. Hey guys, editor Spear here for a sec. So I just want to like specify that I know I left out a lot of Demon Realm race cards when I was making this video. The biggest thing is that there's just so many different cards that were made specifically for Demon Realm race stuff that it's kind of hard to include it without really losing sight of what the archetype is really trying to do. So while I could talk about every single poutine, gravy, and whatever cards printed under the sun that specifically work with Demon Realm stuff, I did want to make sure that we stayed keyed in on specifically what the archetype is trying to do and the spirit of the archetype. But of course, I do welcome you guys to actually go out and verify for yourselves what specifically would work well with the deck. There's a ton of great gravies out there. Mechi Cabras, there's some 2-drops that work really well with the deck, and of course there are poutines and an unlimited amount of Toas that you can also combo really well with the deck. So for all doing purposes, guys, this is not all encompassing. Unfortunately, there are too many cards to really make this a concise video, but I do welcome you to please go check it out. Please go check out those cards. There's a ton left to explore with this archetype, which is super fun. There's a lot of great stuff in there, and I really implore you guys to go check it out. But let's let Spear finish his outro. But With that said, guys, how would you guys build mono black shroom salsa? There's so many options when you consider the rest of the black good stuff that I haven't actually been able to construct a great deck together. I have an idea of where I'd go with it, but I'm not 100% sure. So let me know in the comments down below. Hey, if you like the video, give a thumbs up. Hey, if you dislike it, thumbs down works too. And you want to catch more of my videos, guys, we are jumping right into the last batch of 101s of 4 set 12 starting next week. Subscribe button's in the corner. And with that said, I'll catch you guys on the next one.